It is another Prime edition on My Media Prime TV this evening. We are going to be looking at the presidential elections 2025, a civil society perspective. What did the civil society do throughout the process? What eye do they have on the same process? Good evening, televiewers. We are going to be looking at this a very important topic for tonight with Dr. Michael Dimancho, who is with me in the studio. Good evening, Doctor. We're glad to have you.
It's a pleasure to be here, Mr. Kum, especially as we are just a few days after the elections. It's very pleased to give my own point of view and to share my views about the issues happening around our country, especially as far as the elections are concerned. And as a civil society activist, I think that is just the right moment for me to be able to share my own perspective with Cameroonians. Thank you so much.
Okay. We have Mr. Tembu Evans Atebo, who is also a political scientist and a leader of a civil society organization based in Yaoundé. Good evening. Glad to have you, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Leo and the televiewers of Prime R. It's a pleasure to be with you on the program today to talk about the past election that just took place a few days ago. It's a pleasure to share my perspective.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dimancho. I'll start with you in the studio with me. What has been your appraisal of the process since Sunday?
Well, the appraisal of the process, I will start from the electorate. I think that the electorate have at least demonstrated a high sense of responsibility. When we talk about responsibility in this sense, I'm talking about civic responsibility that the electorate demonstrated, starting from even the period getting to the election, because I'll be interested to know, Mr. Kum, that while we were out before the elections, there is something very interesting that I realized, and it was the fact that everybody was filled with that enthusiasm to vote. And it was like people who wanted to vote for their own very last day in their lives. And I saw people actually paying money to get their voters card. To me, I wanted to react to that, but rather I looked at it so positively to say that this is a new kind of momentum. This is a new kind of feelings that Cameroonians have, that if you are able to go actually use money and monetize to get your voters cards, it means that a new wave is brewing across Cameroon. And it is, to me, that was a very, very positive point of view. Now, getting to elections on Sunday, I think that it went so well, and in my polling center, I was the third to vote, and I noted that, and actually I was told by the polling agents that I was the third to vote. And of course, I stayed there for the next 1 hour because I went home before coming back for the counting of the vote. For the next 1 hour, I stayed there because that was about 9:30. I saw a kind of, influx of people who were coming to vote that early in the morning. That impressed me because it was very different from what obtained in the past. In the past, you saw people who started voting about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. And this to me was a very, very perfect demonstration of the eagerness, of the zeal, of the zest, of the enthusiasm that Cameroonians had this year, and I really actually appreciated that. Now, going to to see the general analysis of how the LECAM and all of that pulled that on, I think it was good, because this year, I must say, something better happened, because when I reached the polling station, of course, immediately I saw my photo and it was visible, unlike in the past where you had very fluid photos on the registers, on the list. And of course, many people actually appreciated that. And the respect for time, the opening and the closing of the vote was very, very important for us to recommend. And really, I must say this, that it seems as if this is the beginning of a new political wave in Cameroon, whereby Cameroonians have started getting interested in whether, well, I must say, perhaps it's because they thought they had their choice of a candidate that they actually wanted that he should win this year. But I think that Cameroonians got much more interested in the electoral process this year, more than in the past. And I really think, you see, from day up to today, the tension has been high, and a lot of people are waiting with a lot of alacrity to see and to hear to see the 15 days come to pass, and to hear the proclamation of the winner, of a raw winner of elections. And of course, many of those centers have already actually sent their result. And I must say this, that there is this confusion of proclaiming of election results. I must say there is no law in Cameroon that prohibits the proclamation of election from the polling station. The law prohibits proclamation of a general election and the winner of the election, of course, which only the Constitutional Council is rehabilitated with the powers and the prerogative to say who the overall winner is. But from the polling station, we can already know that, because that is filmed by everybody and is sent to the world, and there is no law that prohibits you from the polling station to film your results and actually show the fact that you were at that polling station and this is what you saw, this is what obtained. So I think that generally the zeal with which I saw Cameroonians come out, and the way they express after the willingness to see Cameroon change from what to what is still what I'm expecting to see, and from which candidate to which candidate is also what I'm expecting to hear the Constitutional Council, whether they are going to hear the voices of the people, they are going to listen to what they have spoken, they are going to actually respect the ballot box. It is actually another eagerness, another enthusiasm that all of us are expecting and we are looking forward to actually see. But generally, elections went in a very, very calm manner, but we want to prevent the aftermath, the stampede, or the chaos or whatsoever that may happen, because peace is very, very precious. And I think that anyone who is in responsibility to be able to make sure that as the election goes peacefully, proclamation should also go peacefully. And proclamation can only go peacefully if you actually leave the wishes of the people actually be expressed at the last day of the proclamation of election. Because no drop of blood of any person, is what their political ambition of any politicians in Cameroon, and we must avoid that.
Yes, Mr. Evans, what has been, you are reading since voting took place on Sunday?
Yes, Mr. Leo, once again, good evening, and good evening to our televiewers. It's a pleasure to be here about these elections. And just like the doctor just analyzed, I would like to talk about the conduct of the elections, the preparations, how it was conducted, and then the behavior of the electorate. And then also, I would also like to say something about the expectation of Cameroonians, as a Cameroonian citizen myself. Now, talking about the organization of the elections itself, I think we have really evolved, because I started participating in elections since 2004 during the presidential election. I voted for the very first election. I voted, and in 2011, I had the privilege not only to participate but also observe the elections with Transparency International. And I will tell you something. 2011, where I observed the elections, and 2000, and I observed the elections in 2018 with the civil society organization I helped found in Africa. I observed the 2018 presidential elections as well. And now, in 2004, I see a whole different thing. In 2011, even as an authorized observer of the election, you would imagine there were polling stations in which they would not want you to have anything to do with the register to answer questions from you. They don't want to give you access to certain things, but that has changed. And I must praise the Lekam at that point. You know, when it is good, it is good. Appreciate. Registers, vote register is made public. They have a Facebook page You can go there, you see a lot of information concerning your voting center, your name. Who came across voters who could find their name in some voting station and they go online, search their information, and they got the information where to go. That is something positive. We must appreciate that first before we condemn whatsoever condemning from them. I think the positive things must be appreciated. And now, just like the doctor just analyzed, then all this time, the enthusiasm was so great. You see, even many young people, in the past, we have been encouraging people to massively register in the electoral register. You see people run their feet, but this is not the same thing. People that they law, those who didn't succeed this time were regretting. And now they turn out so massive. As early as 6 o'clock, people were already there voting. And by 6, people were there to count the counting. I made it up about 6 police in the evening to see for my attendance and so on. That is where I was. And now, having registered, voted, participated in the county, and like the doctor said, there is nothing, absolutely nothing wrong for people to give the general tendency. You are free to support this. Say in my voting station, this is how it's went. This is who won. That is absolutely permitted by law. So nobody should be intimidated at that point. People have the right to compile their minutes, what we call the procès verbal. People have the right to compile their name to be able to pay. Now, come to talk about the result, the general result itself. I think that is the priority of the Constitutional Council. A legal will have to do compilation and then forward them to the Constitutional Council for final proclamation. That is what is going to happen. I think in the course of the program we meet now, we can analyze other things like what is happening at this particular point, because you see the atmosphere is really tense and a lot of people may be disappointed, and I have to make a good analysis about how we should. Thank you very much.
Okay, you say many persons may be disappointed. I don't know what about, but he made something. He made a point that so many persons came out, especially young people, because what we knew in the past is that the elderly were going to be the ones to flood the police stations. But so many persons told me that these women you see selling along the streets, most of them have their voters card. Most of these bike riders, because the tendency was to say those who are rushing behind this some of these party leaders don't have voters card, but the reverse was true on that day.
Yes, the reverse was very true, but I was not of the opinion that at least most of them don't have voters card. But actually, my reading of it was that in the past, these were the very group of people, the young people and the women, who were usually used by the politicians. And then, you know, the advent of elections or fortnight, before the elections, what usually happens is that these politicians came and they bribed them with little gifts. And in the past, what we realized that were even the youths and the women who voted for these politicians. But this year, we had something different. It was like the youths themselves have sat and they told themselves, but we have been fooled for so long a time. Women too, they asked themselves, after all doing this all these years, what have we gained? It is only unto suffering. And that it was time for them to be able to express their own feelings towards this election. So the expectation of these under-machinated politicians was not met. because they had expected the youth and the women to do as they did in the past. But the youth and the women was the kind of rivals, against these people, and we are having what we are having on the field today. So it is really an issue which, and that's what I applauded the attitude that happened. And it happens like that. Sometimes when change is to come in the society, it blows like a wind. Just like some people talk about the advent of democracy in Africa, how it blew from Eastern Europe. Nobody expected that in the 1990s, coming out from the one-party system that we are going to have, real democracy in 1990, until organizing a democratic election in 1992. So it happened like a surprise. And that is how it happened. It happened this year like a surprise, that you found so many youths, so many women. They came out with their voters card, people brandishing their voters card, and not only that you saw people rushing and getting to election offices 3, 4, 5 times to get their voters card. I'm also saying that one of the things that didn't go well during the retrieval of cards was that the cards, they came in very late, when people had gone there so many times and they kept on promising them come back, and that is why you saw that stampede at the end, almost towards the election, where you have so many people flogging to have their cards. I don't know whether that was a plan out for people to get discouraged or what, but many people stayed there. Some went and came back again, and they got their voters cards before they ever left. So it is very important for us to understand that. And you see that the way that even the youths and the women, they stayed there to defend their vote it's unlike the past. Even though one of the things too, I must say, is the kind of unalloyed characters of some election officials. Because we had some few incidents in some few polling stations where we saw some overzealous people trying to cheat or trying to rig in one way or the other. But you must know that it is not as if this cheating didn't go in the past. It was there, but the fact is that the youths were so lackadaisical. The women were lackadaisical. They didn't care less. They didn't only care less, but they were careless about the elections that was going on. And the youths will sit and say, after all, even I vote, I don't vote, they will take the vote. But you're asking yourself, what has happened this year that they were there to defend the vote, and they say that statement that after all, even I'm not there, even I vote or I don't vote, they'll say. So it was a kind of a spirit, a kind of a wind that blew in the youth and the women. And this time around, it was like they were saying, we have to punish these people who have been punishing us these years. And we have even had videos of some people, politicians, who had, dish out money or gift to people, and at the end of it, when they were not voted, they started revendicating and asking people why they failed them. So it is a very, very important thing. The zeal, what I'm interested in actually, is the zeal that actually the youth and the women and the general public as a whole expressed during the election. And it is a starting point. This is a fact that before this program, we have expressed and x-rayed a lot of African countries whereby electoral period used to have a lot of beauty. Electoral period used to be a momentous moment, and that we are asking ourselves, why is Cameroon different? Now we have Cameroon. I'm sure that other African countries will start quoting Cameroon from today, that what happened in Cameroon, they also wish that it will be in their country, because actually this is what we expected. The beauty of elections, lies in the electorate. How the electorates come out, how the electorates they vote, and how the electorates stay there till the closing of the day to be able to defend, to count their votes. And I know they may not defend their vote to the desired end, but they left satisfied at that particular moment that at least they were there to count their vote, that the vote that they cast were actually counted, and that this is what they obtained from their individual polling station. And that is why before the end of that day, we saw a lot of photo screenshot coming from all over, and people were happy, jumping and celebrating and actually expressing their feelings on how happy they were to actually express their civic rights on that particular day. So you think it was like, to me, I would describe it biblically, it was like the biblical eschatology, where we are talking about the last things. It is like somebody thinks that, okay, this was the last time that I should vote, and this is the last time that I'm voting, and I'm expecting a result, because it is on that very day that they will pronounce judgment on whoever has ever done what to Cameroon. So it is very, very important, and I know that as this spirit started in the youth, it is going to continue.
Are you saying that politicians got disappointed by the reaction of the voters this time around?
Exactly, Mr. I was in a sister TV on that particular day where we were analyzing up to 6 p.m. and we saw images of politicians, even administrative officers, who sat there dumbfounded. And they were like asking themselves, they will see the result on the board, and some of them were just dumbfounded.
So
and
this guys deceived us?
Yeah, this guy, did you deceive us? Did you deceive us? And let me tell you, there are a lot of political parties. I don't want to be calling them because we are still actually appraising the election. There are many of those opposition political parties that contributed a lot of money for campaigns, a huge sums of money for campaigns. And at the end of the day, many of them feel that those who actually took the money didn't use the money for the desired goods, and that is why the population is rising. And you see, people got really disappointed, because you know that when you are already so comfortable with kind of results over the years, comfortable, and a certain moment where you get a contrary result from what you have been expecting, because you know you sit quiet and you are just happy that okay, it will happen as usual, things are going to happen as usual, and at that particular moment where something happened differently from what you are thinking and from what you are feeling is, you know, at that very moment, this is after where we say is the height of hypertension, and that's a very moment where some people develop even some crisis, that politicians were taken aback about what happened, about the overcrowded voting of the youth, and actually the way the youth stood and they voted. So it is very important to talk about this, because it is like something actually happened, was blown onto Cameroonians, and where politicians actually have to go back to the drawing board. We analyzed all of these things and during the pre-election, and everybody was saying, people are saying, okay, if there is no coalition, they will not vote. If there is no coalition, they will not vote. But we were so shocked that even despite saying that, the people were saying that out of the eagerness to see change, and that they were not actually meaning the fact that they will not vote if there is no coalition. It was just that they were reiterating and re-emphasizing that for there to be a change, people needed to come in a synergy. They needed to be a coalition for actually their goals and their desires to be expressed. But then they were having the plan B, and their plan B was that with coalition or no coalition, they were going to the polls. And exactly this is the way the electorate they surprised us. That I thought I was going to see empty streets, I was going to see empty polling stations, I was going to see empty counting moments of the votes in the evening. But I saw something different from what we had analyzed here prior to the elections last Sunday. And I told myself, sometimes change can be something very difficult. Change can be something that comes without the understanding of human being. And you know that and from there I drew the conclusion that sometimes the invisible beings, the invisible beings sometimes have hands in most of the changes that we have. And sometimes they can even cause you to change against your own very will. And this is what we are having. And just that change of the love for the elections in Cameroon, because when you talk about love for elections, it means that you are having a love for the change. This is what we mean. And that love for that election actually express the desire, the love, the eagerness, the zest, the enthusiasm that Cameroonians they have to change and to change the status quo and to see something different happen in Cameroon. Remember, it is not just about the change of somebody at the head of the state. It is also the change about the economic difficulties that they have in Cameroon. It's also a change about the price hikes. It's also the change about the basic goods and communities and the social life that Cameroonians are living in. The change in road infrastructure. And before election, we condemned what is going on in most of towns in Cameroon, whereby the roads are going in very dilapidating state, and nobody was caring. So I think that this change to see things actually done as they had been done in other countries was what Cameroonians actually want to see. Whoever is there, remember, before election, we got some discourses from men of God, and one of the discourses that was very popular was from the Bishop of Yagua, Bishop Yahuda, who actually came out and talked about the concept of the devil. Remember that issue about the devil, people didn't read it well. It was the fact of after somebody who is tired of having the same thing the same time and all the time, and he at that moment he thinks about having a devil who may even come and change things. So at one moment you just want to say that, okay, we want a better thing, we want a better country, whoever is there, let Cameroonians live in it, because whether you are government ministers, whether you are a director, or whether you are who, when you pass on the roads, the roads that you pass on are degraded the same way a common person in the street pass. So there is nothing you can defend. What are you defending? That you are passing on the sky, in the sky, or that you are passing on the same ground that all of us are passing? So it is very, we are happy with what has happened, and we know that this is going to continue in future, because it is a burning fire that has started. And I know that in subsequent elections in Cameroon, even if the will of the people, which of course we do not wish that it happen, even if the will of the people is not expressed as it will be, and I think that in future Cameroonians have started redeveloping that spirit to see change in their own country. And I think that that love for election and the beauty of election in Cameroon has been reinstilled as it was in 1992.
Now, Mr. Evans, you made a statement that many Cameroonians may be disappointed. Can you develop on that? Why do you think they're going to be disappointed?
Thank you once again. We are living in a very delicate moment after election. You see, what in the first part of the program, analyzing the and the massive turnout of the is simply a reflection of what Cameroonians want. Cameroonians really want change. 2025, I said, was a year, to those who are close to me, to those who have had the opportunity to share with me. I said it was a great opportunity. But that opportunity, fear, I greatly fear, to some kind of disappointment. Let's take an analysis of the situation. For me, it is not much of the problem of going to vote, because Cameroonians have been voting in the past. And they have been seeing the outcome of the result not reflecting what they express. So, in 2005, when I saw that President Pobia was the candidate for the CPTM, I said, wow, what opportunity. Because for me, and the CPTM was going to go for election, but I was setting another candidate from the party. But when they said it was President Pobia who was going to be their candidate as an opportunity, and then immediately I looked to see the opposition. I'm in contact with most of the opposition candidates. I exchanged with all of them. When I look in front, on the opposite side of the, and I saw the opposition have in front of us, and the way they were going about it, that is where I began fearing the situation. We are facing a regime that has been in power for over 40 years. A regime that has a lot of financial and resources. We are facing a regime that almost have control of the electoral apparatus. It is not a secret. Anybody, let's be clear, it is not that they have a kind of mastery over this electoral apparatus. And when you are going to face such an open, you don't just go like elections, you have to read the situation. It is not a matter of popularity. It's a matter of how many people you have beside you. It's a matter of strategy. What strategy do I put in place to be able to win election? You don't just go for elections to run just running sake. You run to take office. And that is the goal of every political party, including the CPM. Every political party has as goal to win power and to consider power. Now, the opposition, like I said, going to face such an opponent that has a lot of advantages. What did the opposition have in their own camp that they could lead up to say we are going to win this election? Not just win, conserve or to protect the victory. That was the question the opposition was supposed to be asking. For me, the greatest strategy, the greatest weapon they would have used would be unity. They would have been united. They should have been united and go a common front against this opponent. I'll explain that to you. Heavy opposition leaders, including Professor Kanto, we cannot neglect, which I mentioned here. He's a political heavyweight. Unfortunately, he was somehow sidelined. But he still had a lot of people who were listening from him. All this is of the opposition would have been put together, and then they go unity.
Okay, lots of connection problems there to get through to Mr. Evans, who is coming in from Yaoundé. Now, Doctor, do you also see the voters? Because you said many politicians were disappointed with the attitude of the voters. The voters themselves, are they now wiser, more alert, and can now tell politicians that we have, or that we can decide on alternatives?
There is someone who said you can fool some people some of the time, but not all the time. Mm-hmm. It will appear that after so many years, about 5 times we have had presidential elections in Cameroon here, of multi-party elections. It would appear as if Cameroonians have come to understand the kind of game, the cheating game that some politicians they play. See, in Cameroon, the difference is clear. The difference in style of life of politicians in Cameroon and the common citizen is very wide. And it takes only a blind man not to see that. And nobody will see that and still continue to behave as if he's not seeing. So Cameroonians have come to see that politicians, why they support them, when they come forward with all their flashy cars and their promises, their El Dorado promises and all of those, and they vote for them, when they go back, they only see them during the next elections. It has been happening for so long. And it appears as if Cameroonians have sat down and thought about this. And there is a general agreement, which of course is not an agreement that people sat somewhere to agree. They have just come intuitively to understand that you cannot keep on feeding somebody all the time who comes fooling you all the time. And that when you look at the style of life that you live in Cameroon, politicians live very flashy lives. And the promises that they come to give is that we are going to serve you. And we do not see what that service is all about. Rather, they are being served by the population. And the population think that after they are the one to be reaping the fruit of the politics, because in effect, they are the electorate, the population that call the shot. If the population if it does not put the politicians where they are, they will not live the lives that they are living. And this time around, in 2025. Of course, it is a long time. We gained independence in 1960. Multipartyism came to Cameroon in the 1990s. The first presidential election took place in 1992. The second took place in 1997. The fourth took place in 2004. The fifth took place in 2011. And we had 2018 that elections took place in Cameroon. And it's the same song. It is the same song that we think that if they are the people who are supposed to enjoy, they keep promising that in the next 5 years, this is going to happen. They left from the next 5 years to the next 7 years, something will happen. And Cameroonians have not seen. And therefore, it was a time, a momentous time. Remember that we are talking about 2025, where we have learned a lot of lessons from other countries. We have learned lessons from the way elections was run in next door Nigeria. We have learned lessons from how election was run in Ghana. We have learned lessons how elections was run in Kenya. We have learned the lessons how elections are run in many other countries. Even next door Gabon here. Remember how elections were run in Gabon. So there was a moment that some people thought a regime cannot be changed. And people came to believe that. But when you look at the circumstances that happen in other countries, people now came to believe that if it happens in other countries, it means that it can also happen in Cameroon. And therefore, a regime too can be changed in Cameroon. So with all that knowledge has been gathered in other countries, with all that inspiration, with all that news that they got and that courage that they got from other countries, Cameroonians thought, okay, we thought the politicians, we have fed them fat, and they have the guns, they have the money, they have everything to fight us. We think that even simply with our votes, we can be able to fight politicians. And that is why this year they decided to come out en masse to be able to sanction the politician with their vote. And I must say it without mentioning my words. The opposition was up. The opposition was up in Cameroon more than we have ever known. I went out during the pre-electoral campaigns, even before campaigns, and I talked with the opposition leaders. But they were not assuring. There are even many who told me how they are going to win election, who never even ventured into the elections. So the opposition they were not assuring. But I realized that at the end of it all, the masses, they said, since you are not assuring, we are going to call the shots. We are the ones who decide, and we are going to decide on the 12th of October 2025. And this is exactly what happened, that the masses came without any education from anybody, and that they came out and realized their status and said, time is now. We must change our status, and that we cannot leave this for so long a time. We have lived it for so long a time. This is the right time for us to be able to make our voices, to make our aspirations heard by whoever. I think that this is what is happening. And now you see a lot of reticence towards what the electorates are deciding. But I must say that nobody can cancel or can go away against the will of a collected people. Now, I think that is the spirit.
Yes, elections took place on Sunday. We are Wednesday. You see how closely the people are monitoring it, actually gathering around electoral offices and other instances. What does it tell of the people?
It just as I explained, it is reawakening. It's a period of reawakening for the people, because we have had these same elections in the past. We have had some similar candidates in the past who actually gave the impression that they were for the people, and we will have seen this kind of what is happening this year in the past, but we didn't see it. It shows that what, when the right leader comes for the people to defend, they will defend. And this is just what we're looking at. Look at the way population is. They are revendicating almost everywhere. They are going to pulling to Lekam offices and trying to verify to know exactly whether what they express on Sunday is still what is maintained. You see what I mean, just recently, this evening, Douala was, it is staying in Bonamusadi. We heard about Chang, we heard about Bafusam, Garwa, and all of those places. These are behaviors, these are expressions that the people are tired, and that the people have had a renewed desire for the electoral process in Cameroon, and that the people are the people of the truth, and that they want to live by the truth, and that they want to see the truth expressed as they have expressed their will. And this is also significant that you see a moment in life where the population is saying that enough is enough, and that in the past we were taken for zombies, and that this time around we should be taken seriously, because the fact that we have laid low, the fact that we have not expressed our views violently, the fact that we have not snubbed or we have not contested the rigging machinery and all of that, doesn't mean that we do not know what was happening. It is just the fact that we wanted peace, and that peace in Cameroon is something that is very precious. But that if you want to take our understanding nature for kind of weakling or weakly nature, or for a kind of weakness, then we are going to tell you that we knew exactly what was happening, and that was just a matter of time for us to tell you in your faces that we knew what was happening. Even if we are just, our expression is just at the level of talking and talking, but we want to let you this year know that we knew that this was what was going in the past, and that this year we have decided that we are going to sound a warning, and we are going to say it loud and clear that our vote should not be tampered at. This is what is this is the translation of what is happening around the country this time around, that the population is saying we have expressed our vote, we knew what happened in the past, and that now we have come to the understanding that our understanding nature have been taken for granted, and that this time around we are not going to stay mute. We are not zombies anymore. We are going to get up and tell you that this is what we express, and that you who are the people we choose, of course we choose you because the sovereignty is to the people. The people gives you the sovereignty. They should not give you the sovereignty and then you use it against the people. And that this is what we know, and that you should express exactly what we are giving you to express. It is a mandate we have given you. Please, that you use that mandate judiciously and do not abuse it. This is just the expression of the views this year, Mr. Leo.
Now, we have campaigns that were done by politicians. When you look at the way the population has reacted, is this a strong signal to tell them that we need a new breed of representatives, or that you should change your ways?
Of course, it is very glaring. The answer is glaring that after this election, many politicians are going to be vomited from their localities. This is a very clear sign that many politicians will be vomited, because now the population has understood that people actually take their votes, people take the expressions of their will, and they kind of, they market it out for their personal gains, for their personal aggrandizement. This is what the population has understood. You will imagine, Mr. You have had actually true picture of results of the election, and that in some localities, I want to talk especially in the Northwest and Southwest region, where even some people stayed home. In some villages, they didn't go out to vote. But when you see the PVs that are coming from those regions, the people themselves are wondering, asking themselves, what breed, what kind of politicians are we having in these localities? That even at the time, we stayed home because we are afraid of insecurity, of the fear for the unknown caught us, and we decided to stay home. You took an advantage of us staying home, and you went and stuffed the ballot boxes with votes. And many people have been expressing this view and asking themselves, what kind of politicians do we have? It means that even in our misery, you cannot also really table our views. You cannot table our aspiration to whoever cares, to know that we were in insecurity, and that you have to align with us, you have to sympathize with us in insecurity in which we observe in stay home. You took the advantage, came home, stopped the boxes with vote, and then you want to project yourself, because that's what that is all about. You are projecting yourself to whoever cares to know that you are doing the work in your locality, and that your people voted overwhelmingly for this particular candidate. The people have learned the lesson, and let me tell you, the people have noted it. And immediately after the election, first coming election, you are going to see what is happening. So it is now that Cameroonians have come to the full understanding of who those night politicians were. I call them the night politicians because in the day they are different things, and in the night they are quite completely different things. And that the population have known that they are not serving the collective view of the people, of the electorate. They are serving their own individual views. You will imagine that most of the politicians who don't even live in their localities, they only come from the localities, come begging for vote. Like Chinya Achebe writes in his book, Man of the People. I think that this is what it's all about. That you come begging and beckoning, luring, cajoling people because you want their vote. And those are the votes that you go after market it out. You go and monetize it out to whoever cares to gain, have for your personal gain. And that the politicians, the electorate have known that. They thought for once that these people were serving their aspiration, and that is why they gave them the mandate. But that now they have understood. Don't be shocked Don't be really shocked that after this election, when the results are proclaimed, many politicians will be shut out of their villages. Many politicians would be sent out of their villages because they have understood that most politicians are greedy. Most politicians are selfish, and that they did not serve the aspiration of people. The promises that they made during the last election, it is not the promises that they came to say that we did this during these past 7 years. It was rather the time for them to come and steal the vote and go. So the people are aware now, and it is all about education. Let me tell you that we were in an amphitheater during the last election on Sunday, and that we learned our lesson. The lesson was well lectured, and we thank the lecturer for lecturing the lesson so well, and the lecturers have learned from the lecture of last Sunday, and they have known that they are going to write their CC, they are going to do their tutorials, they are going to write their exam, and I know that this time around they will pass the exam, because all along the politicians have been passing the exam. This time around the lecturers are going to pass their exam, and that the lesson that I've learned is going to be implemented in the forthcoming elections and in the forthcoming days, the forthcoming months, the forthcoming years, and that Cameroon, of course, will not be the same again, because now people are going to actively get involved in election. The youth, the women, I give you 100%. I give you actually a pat on the back for the interest. As a civil society, tears ran down my eyes when I saw the way people flocked the polling station, when I saw the desire that people had to be able to vote and defend their vote. I saw the eagerness that people had expressed in order to see the outcome of the election. And of course, the desire is being expressed today, that people are eager to know the final say, the final result of that election on Sunday. I think that is what Cameroonians are expressing today. And that's why you see all this rioting and all of this from Lekam Osby and all of those. It is because of that desire that was not in the past, and that the new dawn, it has already dawned on Cameroon that we are in a new era. And that era is the era of democracy, and that era is the era of accountability, and that era is an era where the common good will be shared, and that common good is not just for anybody, and that is the era of truth, it's the era of love. And that because if you love your common person, you will not steal election. And when you don't want to project the real president that win, it means that you don't love the people, and that is what the people want to express this time around.
Okay, what do people want to express this time around? We'll take 2-3 messages. Good evening, Mr. Leo. The people are tired and want to express their desire. Banekeng is writing from Kumbu. Good evening, Mr. Leo. I'm not too happy with Dr. Dimancho. How can he sit in front of the media telling Cameroonians, even if the will of the people is not respected? Why must a civil society activist such? Or is he afraid of someone? As a civil society activist, you must advocate for truth and change, with statements like, even if they will. Celestine, I hope if I invite you to come and talk here, you come, eh? Yes, I invite people every day. They will refuse. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening to everyone in the studio. Thank you immensely for this interesting program. I especially want to thank the doctor for his factual analysis of the post-election process. Addressing the doctor's statement regarding my small observation from his analysis, the doctor made a statement at the end about what happens even if the will of the people is not respected. I want to correct him on this point by stating that the people's will must be respected. It is not up for debate. The people have spoken, and that decision is final. It is interesting that he mentioned the concept of an invisible hand influencing the electorate's attitude towards election. I agree with this entirely, and I am very sure that this invisible force will continue to support the people until the very end. Furthermore, it is true, okay? Mr. Evans, are you there? Looks like he is not. Okay, Mr. Evans, if he's there, I have this question. Question for you. We have persons who are now resigning from parties because they did not agree with the parties that carry them. You look at the dissonance that exists between PAL, the party that carried Ateki, as well as the owner, Celestin Abidige. You saw what happened between Iram and the owner, Emilien Atangana, who thinks that both of them. The president of PAL thinks that Ateki was supposed not to congratulate Issa Chiroma, as well as Emilien Atangana, who also thinks that Issa Chiroma was supposed not to be congratulated. How do you understand this and the positions that are being taken by different opposition parties after the elections, now converging and seeing the need to work together, a thing they all refused before elections?
Yes, thank you again for this question. I think the question goes in line with what I was trying to analyze before we got cut off. You see, political parties, even though they are independent entities, they should know, their leaders should know that they are in a social contract with the people. And it is the people that has the decision through their voting power. And that decision, that power must be respected. That is what political parties leaders should know. And no party can exist without the people. That is why politicians should have to, at every moment, put their selfish, individualistic ambitions and let the will of the people prevail. I was trying to say this. In this election, the people might succeed, as I'm seeing, to get what they have. But it might cost them a lot. And this is because of the selfishness of the politician. Because I was saying, if they went into this election in a united front,
okay, there is a problem there. Yes, but do you understand?
If they went into these elections in a united front, we will be talking now with one voice. This is what is happening. We have heavyweight politicians like Kamto, as I was saying. We have Cabral. We have Joshua O.C. and the rest. Imagine if all of these people were united. They went into this election with one candidate. And now, at this point in time, whosoever won, be it Shuruma, be it whosoever they would have sent as their unique candidate, what would be happening now would be a coordinated, united action from the party leaders, and the effort would have been, very impactful. But the trap we are in now is that there is division. Why so? And let me also make this point clear. They refuse the people a coalition, but the people themselves decided to make a coalition. The rallying behind the candidacy of Shiruma was the people's decision to make a choice and decide to vote for that candidate. It is not because Shiruma is an angel. It's not because he was so good and had the best of the programs. No, it is the people that decided and said we are going to give him our support. They saw him as the best person at this particular point in time to be able to throw their weight behind him. And now, here we are. If all these great politicians were speaking in one mouth, defending the vote of the people behind Shiruma, I bet you the impact would have been very great and felt at every corner. The decisions that will be taken, they can say, okay, this is the action we are going to take. All of them will sign a unique communique, and the actions will be coordinated. And that is how they could easily defend the vote of the people. But now, Just the fact that there is division amongst them, it's going to make this effort diluted. And it might cause the people extra effort. It might cause the people something we might not like for them to be able to get this vote. And I think the people will have to sanction these selfish leaders. Now, coming to talk about leaders within some parties that are disagreeing, others are resigning. It's just a translation of what we are saying. Others are coming to realize that no, I don't think you are acting in the best general interest of the people. You are rather being selfish. I therefore dissociate with you. That is what is happening. And we are going to see even more resignations in the days ahead. I'm glad the people's eyes have opened. I'm glad the Cameroonian electorate have decided to get themselves educated and to sanction these political party leaders who are selfish, egoistic, and look for their personal interests instead of the general interests of the people. We live, like the doctor said, we are in a new era. And after this, I bet you, the political arena in Cameroon, the landscape has already taken a different shape. And a lot of things will happen after this in a positive note. I am very optimistic about this.
Okay, very optimistic.
Thank you.
Do you understand that almost everybody now is converging towards a common front, something that was very difficult to come by before the elections?
I'm just feeling so excited. I'm feeling really, really excited, especially at one moment when I had lost hope. There seemed to have been disillusionment. There seemed to be no light at the end of the tunnel before these elections. And that at this point in time, we are getting up into a new kind of light, and that everybody is seeing the light, almost seeing the light at the same time. It is like all of us opening the door now at the same time, which of course we saw that as an impossibility. And I must tell our viewers, like especially the person who made the comment, when I say even if the votes or the voices of the electorate is not respected, you should understand I'm speaking as a civil society. It doesn't even mean, I just want to enlighten that at one moment, even when you cheat and we seize the victory of another person, it doesn't mean that you are going to rule with that seizure. You don't know. When I'm saying that, I know exactly what I'm saying. You may decide not to respect the voices, the votes of the electorate, but you may not rule. This is what you have to understand, because the spirit in which we are now, which we are having now, is that spirit whereby you can have power and you don't rule the people. It is very, very important. And that at one moment, you may even seize the thing, and at another moment you think that, no, this thing is not for me, because the people have become really, really intransigent towards you. It is very important for us all. But what I was loading as a civil society, for those who know me, they know I'm a hardliner. As I was loading as a civil society, that this is a new spirit that is coming out of the youth. Remember that I'm one of those persons. I don't plant now, and I want to harvest immediately. One of the things that we do is that there is a time for sowing and there is a time for reaping. This, the Bible says it. And that sometimes when you decide to plant, you know that you are going to weed your plants when weeds cover it, and that you are going to harvest it when the time comes to harvest. And that once something starts happening, to me it looks like a trigger, and then when you open up your trigger, it's a sure sign that you are going to let it loose, and then you target where you are targeting. Cameroonians were pushed to the wall. They want to spit venom. Cameroonians felt that everything is worsening, and that the walls were flaking and peeling, and that this is the time for them to repent the wall and maintain the wall forever. So when I know the enthusiasm that people have now, I know the spirits, how high the spirits are this time around, but I must say too that most people are even only realizing now, for those who didn't vote, I must say, Mr. Leo, that for those who didn't vote, it is now they are realizing that the spirits were too high. And I've met quite a lot of people who are regretting why they didn't vote. Even most people, I must say this, that from our regions in the northwest and southwest, I must say that the results that even came from there is startling, because even those who are talking today are now, they are claiming to be in one spirit with other people, they let those results be stolen. And I've talked about some villages where there were no votes, but a lot of votes were counted from there, and they have been taken to wherever they serve their desired end. And when you sat there watching, now that you have seen the spirit is high, now you claim to be one of those persons you want to defend from your own day. When you didn't defend from your own polling station, when you didn't defend from your own subdivision, when you didn't defend from your own division, now you want to defend in your own day. And this is the kind of attitude that we have been telling Cameroonians even before the election. Go register, vote, stay there, and defend your vote. Many people let it happen, and it has happened the way it has happened with the results that we are having coming from North and South region. You know what I mean. So I think that this time around the spirits are high, and I continue to say that thank you to those who believed in it and they saw that it was a possibility, and that life is made up of possibilities, and that when it is darkest, it is just when dawn is near, and that we have reached our own dawn, and that dawn that I'm talking about is not just that dawn that you receive it now and feel it now. It is a dawn that it is actually going to give a whole long day of sunshine. And that's why I talked about planting and then waiting to harvest. You plant something now. Sometimes there are certain things that you nurse now, you plant now, you harvest. When you plant an Iroko tree, do you know how many years you wait for that Iroko tree to grow so that it cuts it and transform into planks and to wooden furniture and all of those? So what I'm saying is that there is a spirit, at least, that has been ignited in the youth, in the Cameroonian youth, in the Cameroonian people, and that spirit is continuing to burn. You know that next year again we have the legislative and municipal elections. It is not just ending with the presidential election. And what I, as a civil society, I tend to encourage Cameroonians is that as that spirit has started today, remember that at where we are now, I must inform you that if you put even Barack Obama in the presidential house, we may have difficulties, because the way we have turned Cameroon into, we only look corruption maybe at the level of Yaoundé. The way Cameroon is today, it really needs a whole pelican to be able to save Cameroon from where it is. And that's why I laud also an opposition party that had the federal government as a form of government. And which, of course, that should also, when you need a federal government as a form of government, it needs also that the legislative election should pass on well, so that you get many parliamentarians who can pass on laws that are worth the laws. So that's why I'm saying that something has started. It will not only be this, it's not a do or die. And I usually say, no drop of blood of any Cameroonian is worth the political ambition of anybody. And therefore, we are there to save life, even though I accept the fact that you cannot eat an omelette without cracking the egg. But let us be very careful the way you crack the egg, because you may crack the egg and the pieces they get into your eyes. So it is very careful to be careful. It's very careful to be careful. So I'm asking you, that you who think that it is only now that you have to get up and do, know that this is also a starting point for Cameroonians, that we will develop that interest for electoral process, we will develop that interest for the democracy of Cameroon, we will develop that interest for the growth of Cameroon, for the development of Cameroon, social, economic, and all otherwise, that we have to come together as Cameroonians and love this country. That will not have Cameroonians fleeing from Cameroon to go through the horrible routes of the desert to go to other countries, and that we have to build this country as from now. And that the result that we are going to have now, and of course I know that we are going to have a positive result. What the electorate and those who are watching us now are thinking, we are going to have the positive result that you have. We are hopeful, we are prayerful, and we believe in it, that those who are in charge of election, they too, many of them are Christians, many of them are moral people, many of them know too that they need a better life, because as I said, when the roads are bad, they are only bad for somebody who is from Kornoni, where I am from. When the roads are bad, they are bad for everybody. And therefore, whoever is taking the laws, he knows that we need good leadership for Cameroon to be a better place. And therefore, we know that people have cheated for so long a time, and there is a time they have to sit. They themselves will be ashamed of themselves and say, oh my God, we have been cheating all this time. This is a time that we have to at least tell the truth, because no one knows. Don't die with shame and with cheating and with rigging as a legacy. You also have to cleanse your face and say that at least I'm sorry for the past that I did, because I just did that for
when you look at the pattern and the people who came out, what were they voting for? Was it a beautiful manifesto? Was it federalism? Was it transition? Was it how handsome somebody looked? What actually guided all is mystery?
They voted for their devil.
Okay.
They voted for their devil. as I said, Cameroonians were just hungry for change, and they just feel that anything can come. And I quoted the Bishop of Yagua, Bishop Yaouda, who talked about the devil we will receive, and then we know what to happen after. And that is what Cameroonians came to know, because when you even see the popular candidates that Cameroonians are clamoring for, and there is, the fact that he has won the election and we are waiting to see, what manifestos did we see? Especially, let me quote Issa Chiruma. What manifestos did we see from Issa Chiruma? It is just that Cameroonians felt that there is somebody who has come up. And I made my analysis before this election, and I said, in dictatorship, sometimes the person who resigns from a government is always the most cherished, because they think that he knows the secret. They think that when you resign, it means that you are courageous. They think that when you resign, it means that you align with the people, and that it is somebody who has the people at heart. And let me tell you, in dictatorship, as I usually say, you do not leave a dictator leaves you. And when you leave a dictator, it means that what? You are willing to face the bullets from every angle. So Cameroonians didn't vote any manifestos. Cameroonians actually voted, and they just want a change. Imagine I met somebody the other day, the person said, well, my God, I was born in 1980. I was born in 1985. And from 1985 up to now, I have not only one president. That is the reason why somebody voted. Somebody was not voting for even because of any other thing. He just felt that he needed a change, and that he needed to see somebody else just for that reason. That he needed to see somebody at the head of the presidency. And that Cameroonians are also those who believe that change is necessary even for its own sake. And that the only thing that is constant in life is change. And therefore, if the change is happening in other countries, what more in Cameroon? Remember that some of us who have had the opportunity to go for seminars abroad and all of those, we are being mocked at. Some of us we go and we sit and want to give lessons to other people. The only thing that can keep us down with, you are talking. What about your country? And it brings a lot of shame. So there are a lot of things that actually cause Cameroonians, and two, there are a lot of things also. The issue of roots that we have had in Cameroon, the issue of rising style of life in Cameroon, the issue of social amenities that are not there. So quite a lot of things cause Cameroonians to think that maybe a different touch can bring something better or something different from what we have. Remember that sometimes somebody else comes and he talks about or does the same thing, people will receive it because they think that it's someone else who has done it. But when you have the same person time and time again doing the same thing time and time again, it is monotonous and it keeps boring. So Cameroonians, they didn't vote any manifestos. Cameroonians, they voted for a change of leadership. Cameroonians, they voted, they just wanted to have somebody else who actually will come and identify with them in one way or the other. And it is very, very important, because they felt that, okay, it is time that they themselves be able to share in that change, in what we call democracy that is happening in other countries. So I think that is just that. And we have had that. We talked about from the beginning of elections up to now, and we saw candidates coming up. And Cameroonians were asking themselves questions about the candidates who were coming up. And what is even more intriguing, Mr. Rio, is that the candidates that people believe that was overwhelmingly voted for is an old broom, is an old person in government. And then you are asking yourself, but it is not even the young candidates, or it's not even the new candidates, or it's not even the newcomer that was voted. It is somebody whose face is known in Cameroon for long. So I just said, as I said in my first statement, that the invisible hand, the hand of nature, sometimes can cause people to change their minds and to see things and have a different vision of things, to see things and have a different perspective of things from the way they have been having. And that at one moment, it is not even you that acts. It is an invisible force that acts to you and tells you that at least, this time around, it is good to make a change just for your own sake.
Okay, good to. Do you also think same? How do you analyze what the voters voted for? Was it beautiful manifesto, experience, or what? Mr. Evans, are you there?
Yes, please. I didn't get you one.
Yes, what did Cameroonians voted for? Did they vote for? What did they vote for? Was it the beautiful manifesto, handsomeness of the candidates, or experience?
The doctor has said it all. The doctor has said it all. Let me tell you, I just said it a while ago that Mr. Shiruma, in whom most a good part of the population rallied behind, is not an angel. We all know him. We all know his deeds when he was man. And suddenly, we are behind him. The people are behind him. It's not because he had a very beautiful program. I'll even stop to say Mr. Shiruma is a very intelligent politician. He just applied what they call the dead horse. The dead horse theory is a theory that is used in management. It's a theory that is used to explain when you really have to abandon a project that is not working. You know, when you are on top of a horse, you are riding the horse, you beat the horse for it to run. At a given time, when you notice the horse is tired, when you notice the horse has fallen, it is not by beating that will make it continue. People will keep beating the horse. Some people will give the horse grass to eat. Some people will give water for the horse to drink. No, that won't help. When you notice the horse is tired, the best thing for you to do is to go down and you move on. Mr. Shiruma simply noticed that the current regime has come to its end. There is nothing more to do, and it was the best time to skip out of the boat before it sinks. And that is what he did. And so beautifully, he enticed Cameroonians to follow him. If you ask many of them, they won't be able to tell you anything about his political program or manifesto. Of course, when we go for elections, you're going to put a candidate who has things that better represent your interests, who has projects that better represent your interests. That's how you vote. You vote based on somebody's political project or manifesto. But if you ask Cameroonians, so many Cameroonians who voted for Shiruma, like I'm saying, none of them will be able to tell you one in his political program or project. Cameroonians simply wanted change. There is no better way to express that. They said, okay, we need change. Let's go for whosoever can bring that change. And then after that, we can sit down and settle that. It's a new spirit. It's a new wave that has come on. It's a new way of thinking. I like the wind. And here we are today. If you go to look at some of you see people at the parties like the SDF, a lot of people were appreciating the political project of the SDF candidate. For example, I thought a lot of people said good things about it. So why didn't they vote for the SDF candidate? The question remains unanswered. The people wanted change. The people simply wanted a change. And when there is change, let me tell you, there will always be something new. You can't tell me we have a regime that has been in place for the past 43 years. When you have overstayed, you will even run out of ideas. And for the love of Cameroon, for the love of the fatherland, I think they should be able to tell themselves that let's give some other people to manage this country. They will come in with new energy. They will come in with freshness. And there will always be new things that will follow.
Okay.
That is the truth about it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Evans. Yes, now, the guys have voted. When you look at what is happening or operating across the political scoreboard in Cameroon, are we going to see a redefinition of political redefinition and birth of new breed of politicians in Cameroon?
Certainly.
Are some persons actually dancing out of the political game?
Of course, because it is like the end of a road for some people. And that is why you see this die-hard defense of what is happening now like this. Some people are going to defend this loss with the last drop of their blood, because they know that after this they will lose relevance. After this they will lose all that they weigh, their authority and everything that they had in this country. Remember that being somewhere for 20 years, being somewhere for 30 years, being somewhere for 40 years, you automatically make that place as your own home. You do not for once believe that you can leave that home any longer. And at one moment, like a strike of the thunder, on a twinkle of an eye, you find that that home is taken away from you. You know what you have accumulated as skeletons in your cupboard, and you have gone into a lot of problems with people. Let me tell you, when you stay somewhere so long, you certainly go into a lot of problems with people that you will not be able to solve. That is why we refuse people from serving even whatever post in the society for so long. Because when you go for so long, you become addicted to the post. There is what we call power addiction. I'm instructed to say that I'm following a course now on addiction. And power is one of the addictions that people have. That when you sit so tight for long, you become too addicted. And you know that's why a philosopher will say power drunkens and absolute power drunkens. Absolutely. Because when you are there for so long, you become too used to, and now you do not more use the power that you have, that has been given to you. There is this propensity to use your own personal power to hush down on your opponents. And therefore, at this point of time, a lot of people who have been reaping from the regime and who have just been there, a lot of people who don't even know what their jobs are, but who were living lavish life, they now see that being seized away from them automatically. And that is why I'm asking Cameroonians that you should be very careful, because it is like the end time, the end of the political period for some people, and this end of the political period for some people should be handled with care. If not, innocent people will lose their lives, and lose their life innocently and utterly carelessly. So we need to be very careful. Imagine you are living your life, just Acadian life, and you are not stressing for it. It comes at a time where they tell you, Mr. Man, Madam, it is the end of the road for you. So a lot of people will lose their credibility, a lot of people will lose their relevance, a lot of people will lose their authority, and it will be a new dawn. A new breed of people are going to come up. And that's what people have been hushing down. We even the other time talk about the issue of dual nationality. People do not even know why some people are refusing the issue of dual nationality, because they know that those who are out there, they have learned new technology, they have gone to school, and they are more informed about development. They are selfless in the way they do their things out of the country abroad, and then they are afraid that those people are going to come with their agility, with their youthfulness, with their intellectuality, with their know-how, and they are going to replace them automatically if they accepted the issue of dual nationality. So a lot of things are going to be stamped out, a lot of things are going to be stopped, and that is why people are so hesitant to this change. There's one of the things when you look at you ask the other question, why people just suddenly, whether they follow the beauty of somebody, they follow the manifesto of somebody whatsoever, you will now realize that sometimes when you become too power drunk, you become too blind. You remember that during the campaign period, I realized that at one moment some government ministers turned their campaigns towards one opposition candidate, and opposition candidate formed the very nucleus of the bulk or the material of their campaigns, where they said this one went to Bamida and said it, this one went here and said it, this one went. Do you think that is the person who's good? Instead of setting out their manifesto, they rather use somebody else to shield themselves, and they use that person to leverage for their political gains. And that is why, when you at one moment you start talking about somebody, they didn't know that they were inadvertently doing the campaign for that man. And that is what even caused Cameroonians to gain more attention to Mr. Issa Chiroma at that very moment, because most government ministers turned their campaigns and they were rather talking about Issa Chiroma instead of talking about their manifestos. Many Cameroonians opened their eyes and they were now curious to know who that person was. So it was not about manifestos, and now we are saying that people are registered now because they know that if a power changes hand, they are going to lose credibility. And this is all because people don't take power to serve. People take power to be served. Because if you take power to serve, leaving power will not be any problem for you. The government even has a very good policy. Do you know, Mr. Leo, that when you are appointed as a government whatsoever in every office, you are not supposed to buy even a pen from their pocket and put in the office. At one moment, I was asking myself why. And somebody explained it to me very well. That the moment you enter an office and you buy a good chair and put it in that office, or you paint that office, or you put AC from their pocket, you will not want to leave that office again. Because you'll be looking at what you have put in that office, and then you are envying them, and you are thinking that another person coming to take over his office is coming to take what you have bought and put. So the issue is that of service. And then the policy was that when you go and there's everything you bought, apply for them, the government will provide. So many people have, actually eternalized themselves in offices. When now you go to offices, you find people who have actually put a lot of artifacts and all of those that are coming from them, and now they have, because they knew that they are going to live and live there until their kingdom come. And suddenly they are now seeing that their kingdom come will not make them, and now there's eschatology. The last things are happening, and now people know that they are going to lose all that they have worked so hard to gain, and they have worked so hard to gain out of selfishness. Because if Cameroonians were happy, let me tell you, I've said to somebody that change of power sometimes it is important, but it is not absolute. That when you give people good life, because I used to look at Arab nations, Mr. Leo. In Arab nations, you are being ruled by the kings, and the kings, they rule forever, and the people are happy. They rule, the people are happy. You find those people, hardly find Arabs going out of their countries. We were condemning in Libya. How many Libyans were going out of Libya when Gaddafi was there? So we are saying that in as much as change is good, absolutely changing somebody is not an issue when the person is working for the people. But when you see the people clamoring for a change, know that there is a bone of contention, and that it is time for you to leave. I always want to quote Bishop Cardinal Kukwa of Abidjan, who went on retirement last August, who actually said, and in his exclusive remark when he gathered for his if you partir, that it is good to go when your time reaches, and that when you don't go when your time reaches, people are going to turn that love that they had for you to ultimate hate. And that is what is happening. The people also know that it's time to go. And that is why we have mandates, political mandates. That's why we have presidential mandates, that they know that, okay, you are there, you serve the people, you go, another person serve. But when you serve and want to remain there, it means that you think that you are a successful person without a successor. And you cannot think that you are successful without a successor. You cannot just be very careful with anybody who is around you and think that he is going to take over you. It means that you have not been a good leader. And therefore, you can only best be described by Plato in his Republic.
Okay. Mr. Evans, I want us to look at this from this perspective. Can we say that political party leaders before now took their supporters for granted, and that henceforth they are going to learn how to listen to them and be able to go the way they want?
Yes, that is the fact about it. That is the fact about it. We have seen a lot. We have seen a lot of things happening. You see, in the Far North region, we have seen images of people wearing T-shirts of a particular party, and even making people and telling people, please don't mind us wearing this thing. We are just putting it on, for wearing sake. We know who we are going to vote for. You see, and in the same way, a lot of these opposition party leaders deceive them at the last point, because, like we are saying, Cameroonians at a given point know what they want. They know we want change. They know if we cast our votes here, it is not going to be valuable. So at this particular point in time, they say no, we are not going to take our for granted anymore. So you see, a lot of things are going to be readdressed after these elections. In fact, they have already been readdressed. And a lot of these political parties we have now, most of them are going to quit the scene. Quit the scene because they have had time to prove to Cameroonians that they could be trusted, but they have failed them. A lot of them, you see their supporters putting pressure on them. Do this in this way. Even at this, some of them are saying, call this candidate and congratulate them. If you don't do so, I'm going to resign. And you see some people are already resigning. And some are taking it upon some followers are taking it upon themselves, some high-ranking supporters are taking it upon themselves to make calls to congratulate this or that candidate. You see, so a lot of these political party leaders, they are going to be sanctioned after this, and most of them, I tell you, are going to quit the seat because they have proven over time that they were not able to defend the people's vote. They have proven over time that they were not there with the ultimate of winning power, but rather they were there for personal gain, for personal and selfish ambitions. So that is the situation we have now.
Okay, that's the situation we have now. Dr. Dimancho, we are observing, awaiting the official adoption and proclamation of these results by the Constitutional Council in Yaoundé in the days ahead. It should be not later than 15 days. So we are expecting that by the 27th of this month, elections, the official results are going to be made known. What should party leaders be doing now and the supporters?
The party leaders, especially the hopefuls, because they are not all the party leaders who are going to be
some have
considered their defeat already. Some threw their weight behind others, and others just became inexistent. I must tell you that during the last part of the campaigns, we saw that even only about 4 or 5 out of the 12 candidates were actually worth the candidates that we are looking up to, because others just automatically went missing in the campaign trace. So I think that I'm talking about those, and even among the 5 that we are talking about, I think that this particular moment, Mr. Leo, we are having an issue to do with 2 candidates. Yes, and I'm talking frankly about the CPDM and the FSNC. These are the people we have to do with, because, I mean, from the polling center results, we can say that. So what should they be doing? First, candidates should do, candidates who have lost should do endorsements. It is important. At this point in time, people are asking that what is the importance of endorsement? Now the elections is over. No. Endorsement gives a lot of weight to candidates who are hoping to win the election, the final results. They are very important.
But does it change anything?
It doesn't change anything, but it frightens anybody who wants to cheat. To know that if this man of opposition, for example, is having a lot of weight behind him, there's that fear that if wrong results are given, he's going to galvanize with other candidates and the people will riot again. It is very common. That is a common fact that you should know.
Should that not come after the official proclamation?
It shouldn't, because it starts now. We have to act the scarecrow. We have to act what the Frenchman called the proof and time. Means that what? You frighten first. This is what happened. Don't think that there are some candidates who are making like hands that are about to lay. They are endorsing this person now. They are supporting that this person has won, and the others are contradicting that they have not won. So there is this issue of disarray that is going on. You think that it's for nothing? It is not for nothing. It is because they know that once a candidate who wants for presidential election, gives his weight and accords that and confirms that this candidate won, it is very important. It doesn't only play internally, it also play externally. That the external bodies, the friendly countries, they know that this opposition candidate has thrown his weight behind the win of this particular candidate. So it is very important. At this point in time, let the candidates be coming together. Because, there is a point of going to challenge the result or challenge the final result that will the result that will be given, and you cannot go to challenge that result alone. When you go and you put yourself together as political parties, you have many more legal minds that come together to be able to challenge that. But when you go alone, it is very weak for you alone. So that endorsing is very important, that you go in a concerted way, you form that synergy, and the terms of cost, you are able to pay for whoever the lawyers and all of those people to go to the Constitutional Council to be able to defend your vote. It is very important. We saw that in 2018 and it was beautiful. And that is how it happens in every country. That the number of endorsement that you have, especially from the lost political parties is very, very important for you because it gives you weight. Secondly, the political parties, they should keep on coaching their their representative of the polling station. It's very, very important. Let me tell you that I saw many pages which were not signed by Elecam. So many pages that were just there, where they went and read, and they are still waiting to be signed by the Elecam and some polling agents. They are not yet signed. So at this point in time, the opposition party, especially that one that has won, is supposed to hold their polling agents and their representative at the polling station very, very tight to themselves. Because a lot is going on overnight. A lot of people are taking a lot of money. A lot of people are being bribed to accept some kind of result. So let their polling agents who have the results, because all the polling agents have copies of the results that they got from the polling centers, let them have their results and refuse to be manipulated upon by whoever. This is the time that what we call the GOTV strategies have to hold. The GOTV is actually the last strategy that parties have to do towards their electorate, towards their polling agents, towards their representative to the election governing bodies. It is very, very important. It is also this time that the opposition parties, those who are hopeful, are supposed to put a close eye on Elecam, the election governing body. We should tell them, even though they are independent, they are actually not independent. Because at this particular time in time, when you see the rioting that is going, the skirmishes that are going around, the stampede that is going around in those centers, you understand that there is something not all right. There's something that is sleepy like slighters. There's something that is actually leaking from where you are. And means that the opposition parties have to throw their eyes and be very careful about what happened in those centers, because a lot can come in. A lot of things are infiltrated. A lot of results can infiltrate. And we have understood that it has always happened in the past. Secondly, at this point in time, it is not the opposition party to defend himself the result of election. It is the electorate that have to now to defend that opposition party. Let me tell you, the electorate, the citizen, if you believe that your candidate won, it is not your candidate who is going to walk down to Yaoundé or to walk down the Elecam auction, or walk down somewhere and defend it. You have to actually uphold that candidate, because you make the force of that candidate. Don't sit to your homes and start. I've gotten a lot of calls and a lot of messages from Cameroonians out of the country, and I keep on telling them, you are there and telling the electorate and telling the people here, do this, please don't accept it. What rule are you playing over there? Why don't you also be able to hold off your placard and preach for peace, and also say that in as much as we are preaching for peace, we know that this candidate, actually, we know that from popular vote, this candidate is leading. You have your own role to play. Don't sit and say, Mr. Isa Chiruma, you don't have to let it go. Mr. D, you don't have to let it go. It is not Mr. Isa Chiruma who has to let it go. It is the electorate, those who voted for him, who don't have to let it go. It is very, very important. And therefore, this is a moment of communion. This is a moment of actually living together with the candidates that you voted for. This is a very, very holy moment for you, all of you. It's a moment of agreement and not a moment for division. And therefore, with one heart, and actually with that heart that you people came together to vote, I think that this is the time for all of you now to stand up and say no to rigging. Why not multiply social media and preach for peace and preach for no rigging? It is important. I see some people just sitting there. They don't know that they have a role to play. Everybody has a role to play. If you don't have a role to play at Elecam, you have a role to play. We have free cheap internet. You go to social media and preach for peace and preach for election results to be respected.
Okay. Tension. We must just tell our televiewers that there was tension in Chang. I'm sure it's still ongoing. As far as Chang is concerned, there was tension out here in Douala, the nation's economic capital, in Bonamusa, not far from where we are broadcasting from. And as we speak, we hear there are militants of FSNC gathered around the city council in Limbe asking for justice to be done. There were with tensions in Marwa yesterday, and today we are going to be monitoring all of what is happening across Cameroon with respect to these elections, and are going to be feeding you with ample credible information, especially during our specialized news editions. We are saying thank you to you, Mr. Evans, for participating for the first time on Prime Hour.
And if I can say something very fast before we go, just so we all be aware, you see, Elekam has as the headquarters in Yaoundé, and they have these decentralized branches all over the national territory. What is happening now is very important. That's why you hear tension in various locales, because the people have come to understand our electoral system is still lacking a lot of things that needs to be addressed. You see, election took place in various localities, and election results were compiled in these localities. They have to be channeled up following different canals. You agree with me at point as we are still speaking, some of these results are still very far in those localities. That's what Cameroonians should know. And Elekam in Yaoundé is seated here waiting for those results to come. And minutes, what we call procès verbal or verbal in plural, when they will all arrive here in Yaoundé, they might not really reflect what was done in the polling stations. It's very complicated. That's what the people need to do, everything to make sure it is the actual
thank you,
procès verbal. That was signed, that should reach up here at Yaoundé, because
Mr. Evans,
something else is going to...
Thank you for coming. Thank you too for coming.
Thanks so much, Mr. Leo. It was nice being with Mr. Evans. The passion with which he talks also makes you feel that, okay, he is also looking for the change which all Cameroonians are looking for. And I must say that protest is enshrined in the 1990 law on association, and therefore, when you are protesting, it's good to be peaceful. Protesting and asking for what you think is right, it is right. So asking that the votes be counted in a genuine way, I think it's the rightful way, rightful move from the members of the FSNC of Issa Chiroma, and I think they should act for writing and rightly. Thank you, Cameroonians, for expressing your wish. I think that these coming days, months, weeks, of course, we are looking up to the CC, and I think that the CC should see it deemed necessary and not hide the candidate who has won and not wait for the 15 days. The 27 is even too far, because I know that if they realize that there is nothing ado, they should CC to sit, be able to pronounce the result of the election. Even on the 20th, we are waiting for that. That will be very, very important. That will also give the credibility of the CC, of the Constitutional Council, and not only waiting for the 27, because the waiting for 27 means that all odds, they are try to settle one or two issues. And I really think that Cameroonians are looking to actually affirm the real credibility and the independence of the Constitutional Council this time around. And all of us are waiting. We hope that on the 27th, we'll be able to see a renewed phase or a new phase. And of course, we are hoping for a new phase to come on the 27th. Thank you, Cameroonians, for making this a beautiful moment for all of us.
Thank you all for watching. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.